Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Well, you found it. This is your underground source for 5-minute Bible study. It may be the only 5-minute Bible study on the internet. Well, that's pretty unique, isn't it? So welcome to Daily Dose Radio. This week we're looking at Psalm 96. Psalm 96, we began yesterday studying it. Looked at the superscript because the superscript was interesting. There's not one in the Masoretic text. There is superscript activity, if I can say it that way, in the Septuagint, in the Ethiopian, in the Syriac versions. They tell that this psalm is a song of David, used at different times. We went back and looked at 1 Chronicles 16, which carries the entirety of the psalm. 96 really is just a portion of the song or the psalm that David had constructed for the dedication of the ark in his tabernacle in Jerusalem. So we looked yesterday at the first 3 verses, singing to the Lord, a new song. We've seen that before. That was in Psalm 33. And I made mention yesterday of the Lord's name being used here 3 times. In the first 2 verses, we have the Lord's name, the tetragrammaton used. We have it 10 times in the psalm, and we have it twice in verses 4 and 5. That's what we'll look at today. And then 3 times in verses 7 and 8, and then once in 9, and then once in 13. So a total of 10 different occasions where the Lord's name is used. So it's beautiful. The construction is amazing. We have the repeating imperative used here in 1 and 2. Singing to the Lord twice begins the sentence or the phrasing for the first verse, and again the imperative begins the phrasing for the second verse. And then we have verse 3, declare His glory among the heathen. So we're singing to the Lord and declaring to the heathen His glory. And again, this goes back to, I'm sure, what the Syriac said, that this was a psalm that was meant to be prophetic of the advent of Christ and the coming of the Gentiles. And perfectly wonderful because, you know, when the church met, they said that when the gospel went out to the Gentiles, you know, that this was a fulfillment of the prophecy of the prophet in the Old Testament that said that David's tabernacle would be rebuilt and all the nations would gather to it. So here we have the psalm that David wrote for that occasion, and surely enough, you know, the Gentiles have come. The Lord is great and greatly to be praised, and the people have declared His glory among the heathen and His wonders among all the peoples, and surely they have responded, and there's a church now of Jews and Gentiles alike that spans the globe, the bride of Christ, and it's a wonderful thing. Verses 4, 5, and 6. For the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Honor and majesty are before Him. Strength and beauty are in His sanctuary. So we have verses 4, 5, and 6 very much alike to 1, 2, and 3. Instead of having an imperative that leads off in the phrasing, here we have key clauses. For the Lord is, in verse 4. Again, a key clause in 5. For all the gods of the nations are. So we have 2 key clauses, and then in verse 6, the summation of that, honor and majesty are before Him. For the Lord is great, all the gods of the nations are idols. Honor and majesty are before Him, that is, the Lord God. He is to be feared above all gods. And then in 5, right there in the middle of this passage, we have this statement, but the Lord made the heavens. So again, we go back to creation. This seems to be the stamp that the psalmist uses, whether it's David or somebody else. The stamp that the psalmist uses every time declaring the majesty of the created order is authority for His divinity. And so we have it here in the psalm again. He made the heavens. And if He made the heavens, then who is He? He can be none other than God Himself. Honor and majesty are before Him. They certainly are. And strength and beauty are in His sanctuary. See, idols have a sanctuary too, but there's no strength and beauty there. Okay, friends, I hope you'll join me again tomorrow for a little more of Psalm 96 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.